out there to the world. So all of the grape heads that are going to tune in, be sure to like and share this so that your friends can get a hold of it. Spread the gospel of the Whine Show. This is the only show where you can be friended and offended all in the same hour, where we're saving America one civil conversation at a time. That's the game here that we're up to. We're going to be enjoying a wine, the Reserve Bank. It's a South African wine. This wine we actually had a couple weeks ago. Steve and I get to cheat here in that we've had this before. It's quite tasty. So it'll be new for our new guests here. And for the others, we'll probably be sneaking a little more of it before they get a hold of it. So we
it's
drink
like
it all.
coming home.
Yeah.
We're coming home with this one.
So this is a darn tasty wine. I'm looking forward to having some of this. So I'm going to start pouring. And as I look for sharing here, and our guests are going to be introducing themselves. So Steve, you want to kick off the introduction?
Sure. I'm the regular grape head. My name is Steve Williams, and I am a Harris County Republican Party precinct chair. Been so for 25 years and been doing every show since Joe came up with it from 2:30 in the morning. So we're good to go, and look forward to having a very good show today.
All right.
Ed, you want to go? You want to
My name is Ed Kampf, and I feel like I'm being held hostage in this tiny closet. Joe, I thought you had a big studio. Instead, we're in a closet which has a creep factor to it, but I'll play along.
Quit touching me, Ed.
I'm the managing director of my company, Hygienitech Solutions. We decontaminate environments, remove odors, and create bacteria-free, germ-free environments. I'm going to go treat myself after we leave here today.
Hey, James Hargrove with JL Realty, Director of Sales and Special Projects Initiatives over there. Texas real estate dude, just here to hang out today.
Well, I will also say that we have a shameless plug policy where we're completely fine with shameless plugs. So if you guys have any events or occupations that you want to give a quick plug, feel free to toss them in right quick.
I do have something where we're looking for volunteers. I got involved with this association a couple of years ago. If you saw on the news, the Houston Veterans Cemetery, we put out 65,000 flags last Saturday, and they were on each soldier's grave. There were 85,000 people buried in the Houston Cemetery. We had over 2,000 volunteers. In fact, we were turning down volunteers. Pickup is a different story. If we have 2,000 showing up to put the flags in, we have less than 200 who volunteer to pick the flags up. And this Saturday at 9 o'clock, we need volunteers out at the Houston National Cemetery to pick up flags. It's a great family thing. Bring kids. It's easy to pick them out of the ground. It's all organized. It'll probably take about 3 hours to clear all 65,000 plus flags. But it's an amazing sight to see. Very overwhelming. 420 acres of soldiers who have paid the ultimate price. And each stone has a flag, and each stone has been thanked for their service. That's part of the ceremony of putting the flag out.
Which organization is that provides and puts and removes?
If you hadn't asked the question,
Actually,
a glass of wine.
Actually, I can get on my phone and look and get back with you. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We need all the volunteers, all hands on deck. We have a lot of Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts and families that come out, and it's an amazing sight. And embarrassingly, we're thanked by veterans who show up to visit their comrades for doing this, and it's quite humbling to be thanked by a veteran when we're there to honor them. But it's a great thing. It's a family thing, and if it rains, all the better. It seems to always rain when we're doing pickup, and it just seems like an appropriate somber atmosphere. But it's a great thing to do. And it's a great thing that Houston has.
Are those flags reused every year?
That's what we do. There's a whole crew that cleans them. If you're interested, send me an email. I'll give you my easy email, go info@justgonewest.com, and I'll send you a map, and I'll send you the instructions. And it's just a great thing to do on Saturday.
Saturday morning?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Location, Houston National Cemetery.
Off of Veterans Drive.
Okay, Veterans Drive, okay.
Veterans Memorial Drive.
And is there any contact information if anybody needed to figure out?
Just show up.
Just show up.
And follow the crowd.
Houston National Cemetery.
Yes.
Shouldn't be too hard to find. On Veterans Drive, 9:30? 9?
You're a bad listener.
9 to 12. It's about 3 hours.
I'm trying to give it as
They
much.
make
9
it
a.m.
9 a.m.
You know, if we have 150 people show up, 200 people show up, you'll be done by lunchtime.
Is there lunch provided for the volunteers? Just mentioned?
No.
I mean, I'm in real estate.
I mean,
But the
yes,
businesses
yes,
around that
yes,
area are
yes,
going to like you.
Yes,
so much.
Tony's Restaurant is providing steak and lobsters for all the volunteers. And
Yes.
Spoken About is providing all the wine.
Yeah, free booze. Yeah, there we go. That's right. Free booze and dinner
Cheers.
for everybody who
Thank you.
shows up and volunteers. So there you go. So says Ed. Just ask him. So here we are, another episode, guys. It's been a fun, interesting week, and a lot to talk about, as always. What's not to talk about? You know, who knows if we find something to disagree about. But feel free to chime in, because this is a show where I'm going to be watching the live feed here, and let us know you're watching, tune in. At the very least, we'll say hello. But if you have something where you disagree, feel free to chime in. We're watching the feed, and I'm going to comment on it. We'll try to bring in the comments to the show. Share it to your friends. Go to facebook.com/Whine No Whine. That's WINENOWHINE. Like and share that so that we can get the word out. America needs to learn how to freaking disagree. And it's okay to disagree. I promise, if we suddenly came across a disagreement in here, no one's going to grow a disagree tumor and die. You know, we're not going to have to do, like, you know, cardiac support here until the paramedics show up or anything. It's perfectly okay if you disagree. It's all right. No need for insults, name calling, or otherwise. So,
Do we all agree?
What
that's
kind
the
of show is
stupidest thing
this?
I've ever
Do we all
heard.
agree with him?
Well, I'm wondering what the empty chair is going to say.
Yes,
You know.
so we had a last minute person that was unable to attend today, and you know, hey, life happens. That's the way it rolls. No big deal. More wine for me.
So that's a guy's show.
right.
It's a man's show.
Yeah,
It's a
you
man's
needed the
show.
balance.
I was
Yes.
accused last week of mansplaining to somebody, and I looked at that and I thought, or I listened to that and I thought, really? Is that what we're going to?
Is that like
Mansplaining?
manscaping? I mean, I still don't know what that is.
I don't either.
In a very weird, hairy way.
Yes. So he was guilty of mansplaining. So let Steve know what mansplaining is and why he was mansplaining if you saw the episode.
I just thought I was being very comforting and from an experience standpoint, and I said my words and sparsed them out a little bit. I wasn't trying to dominate the conversation. I was just saying that people in our generation need to take care of a few things before we hand it off to the new kids on the block. And I feel very guilty about that sometimes, that we have not done a very good job in taking care of some things that should have been just decisively taken care of. The generation before us took care of fascism. I need more wine. And
Have some more wine,
Nazism,
Steve.
all of this stuff. You know, they got things resolved, and of course it left a legacy of things to maintain. And I just don't think we've been very good stewards of that sacrifice. But that's before Memorial Day, so I just.
So what do you think the transition's going to look like?
Chaotic.
Well, I can tell you that every transition from every generation has failed. The Depression era parents raised their kids to be fearful, frugal, and in fear of losing things. And then
Yes.
that generation raised the generation that answered the call for the country.
Mhm.
And then when they had kids, they coddled them, giving them what they never had. And those were our parents who didn't, well, they coddled us with a belt, but
Yeah,
what have
worked out
we
for
done?
me.
Extension cord.
And
Ruler.
and no, our generation
Whatever was
invented Child
handy.
Protective Services, which was the worst thing. and now
Yes.
the kids are ruling us.
The dysfunction, you know, gets passed down and just it's a new flavor each time it comes along, you know. So yeah. My parents, you know, beat me with whatever was, you know, within reach.
Handy.
Yeah.
Like a ficus.
My mom had a special degree of torture, which was, you know, I want you to go to the bush and get me a switch,
Yourself, that's
right, and bring it back. And no joke, I would, you know, like the first time you're like a moron. I'm like, I'm gonna grab the weakest, flimsiest one possible, right? And so then you pull the switch, and it's green. And so now it's just like wrapping around your leg, and you know, it's like ripping flesh from your skin, you know. So no joke, one time she said, go get the switch. And this has nothing to do with the show. We're just randomly talking now. I come back with a log And I'm thinking humor is going to work, right? Get me out of trouble. I'd come back carrying this big log, and I was really bad. And so she proceeded to get a switch and then just tear me a new one. You know,
It makes it worse.
She didn't find my humor particularly, enlightening.
Nope, parents
So-
never did.
My dad had a cactus garden, and it was
Oh,
either
wow.
you're going to weed the cactus garden,
Oh.
or you're going to see the belt. It's like, I'll take the belt. You know, the pain from the belt will eventually die. The scars from
The
pulling
cactus
that
garden.
out, you know, it was just something that you
Jeez.
it was.
Was that here in Houston?
Yes, my dad, you know, he loved having a cactus garden because that was his punishment to his kids.
I used to do that to my kids. It was more instead of the capital punishment, which I agree with, but there would be a chore. We're cleaning baseboards today. You know, something like that they just totally
Tedious chore.
Right, that they
Yeah.
probably rather had the spanking instead of the tedious.
So, what was your parents' method of torture when you were in trouble? You know, that's the show topic today.
Oh, we're gonna get some feedback on that one. I know that.
Karen Leach, thanks for tuning in, girl. She said, with the political week we have had, you may need more wine. Yes.
Was there politics this week?
Randall, thanks for tuning in,
Oh,
man.
we get
Angel,
some-
good to see you, buddy. My buddy Angel, I always give him a shameless plug here. I can't quite lift it up
That
because
is
the
nice.
wine will come out.
That is kinda
But
cool.
he makes custom design wine holders.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I mean, like all handcrafted stuff. And the crazy thing is, he
Made
will,
in China. No.
yeah, he will go out to like
Yep.
job sites and just pick up scrap wood when they're done with a build,
Right.
and then he goes back and
So
turns them
it's
into really cool,
That is awesome.
yeah,
Mhm.
stuff there. Good old American ingenuity right there. So anyway, Randall, thanks for tuning in. Angel, thanks for tuning in. Karen, thanks for being part of the show. We're gonna jump into something here. And Sonia Gale said, "Drink up, Ed."
Which camera am I supposed to look into?
That's just straight
That
ahead,
one right
right
there.
Yeah, right there.
That
Right,
one
we
right
talking here.
there.
That, yes, and that's Omni. You don't have to worry.
Because I was just talking to this.
Yes, I need to speak more clearly.
Was it answering you?
Not yet.
Maybe, yeah.
Not yet. Give it time. So this week has been a fun week. Today, especially, my Facebook feed has been blowing up with the whole Kathy Lee thing, right?
Kathy Griffin.
Kathy Griffin.
Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin. I
Don't
just
bring
changed
her
it.
into this.
No, sorry, Kathy
Kathy
Lee.
Lee might be next week.
Sorry, Kathy Lee. Kathy Griffin. And, up to today, I really hadn't commented. Literally the first comment I've made today was on your comment. I chimed in. And then one other person was talking about the hypocrisy of how we're complaining about Kathy, but we weren't there because we're all a bunch of racists when Ted Nugent, was calling for Obama's, death.
Mhm.
So it's been kind of an interesting week on this subject. Ed, I know you had a take on it. I liked the take. I'm coming from a pretty similar place, a little bit of a nuance to it, and then James here hasn't seen any of it. So
I'm mixing all in, but it leaves me wondering, how did Kathy? She just showed up one day with that picture, or that was
No, it was a
there
photo.
lead-in
It was
to
a photo shoot. But here's the hypocrisy that I see in this. What if it was somebody like Samantha Fox? If it was somebody beautiful, a gorgeous model who was doing that, would the outrage be there? I mean, it's so easy to jump on Kathy Griffin because, number one, she's just hideous in general and foul, and she's proven that time after time on New Year's Eve. But would there be an outrage? But the thing is, the bottom line in my post on Facebook was about how our country's just losing our sense of humor. Everything is based on politically correct. Had she done this and nobody said a word, she would not be on everyone's Twitter feed. She'd not be in our discussion right now. She'd be a D-list star, or not star, but a D-list actor on a D-list station. And what we've done is we've put her on the fast track for every liberal Hollywood producer and filmmaker to put her, she'll be on the speaking circuit of every liberal college campus making Hillary Clinton type of money, and that's what we've done with this. But the bottom line is we lost our sense of humor, and that was what it was. It wasn't harmless, and the fact that 11-year-old Barron got scared. I'm sorry, that Secret Service man outside his door should make him sleep well at night.
Mhm.
But she's hideous, and what she did was wrong. But the bottom line is we just lost our sense of humor. Jim Carrey made a comment today alluding to the same thing, and I hate agreeing with him. I do respect his humor, but he's kind of right.
For me, there's definitely a point where it crosses a line that it becomes not humor. It just becomes a disgusting level of humanity.
So she needs to be careful with what she's putting out. If I would have done that, like 3 people have seen it, my mom would have told me not to do it again. But somebody that's got a following, even if they're D-list, they have to be careful with what they're putting out.
Well, 2 years ago, a rodeo clown went out with an Obama mask. It was a Halloween mask. He didn't paint his face black. It wasn't a religious thing. It was a rodeo clown who just came out.
And
he
also had done already previously many other presidents.
So he was fired, and that's what I'm talking about. How we just seem to be
so thin-skinned,
sensitized.
Well, that illustrates the hypocrisy that you will definitely see 2 factions of this argument that want to go at each other's throats. You have the Trump supporters and you have the anti-Trump supporters. Okay, whatever, withdrawal that they're going through because their deity Obama's out of office, okay, you're going to have this conflict, and that's what the media covers. They cover the conflict. That somehow justifies their existence. And to have that purpose, the media, the empty chair in the room, the media themselves are vacuous. They have no virtue. They have no concept of what is right and what is wrong. It has nothing to do with morals or anything like that. It's just, it's more money. It sells more airtime. Sponsors come on. What Kathy Griffin did, in my opinion, and I'm like Joe, I did not support Trump. He was going to win or lose, not based upon my support or endorsement for whatever reasons. And so I let that go. I hope for the best because the alternative was the worst.
Yes.
And when somebody came at me and said one day, well, Steve, you're just going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to choose the lesser of the 2 evils. Well, I've said this before. I reject that concept. I am not going to choose the evil of the 2 lessers. So prove to me that you can lead this country. I'll find a way to wrap around you in about 4 years. That's an honest public goal that I have. Prove to me that you can do it, and we'll take a look at it in 3 years. But just don't bother
what's your
me
personal
with
approval rating of the current POTUS.
Right, but getting back to Kathy Griffin, what she did was horrendous. If
Nah.
the rodeo cowboy
We'll
did a spoof of Obama,
Right.
and he gets lambasted by almost the entire country. Kathy Griffin does this, and all the Trump people are just going at arms. They want to kill her. The usual suspects get behind Kathy Griffin's expression of the First Amendment rights. So I find it hypocritical. It says, okay, what the rodeo cowboy did was his First Amendment right to express himself. Okay, sure, most of us can agree on that. Some will argue that, and I don't mind that. But what Kathy Griffin did, yay, rock on, man, you are just absolutely expressing yourself. This is the true thing. Nobody likes Obama, and there you have it. Then you have the conflict that occupies about a week, 2 weeks of the airtime that the media exploits, and then, we're all talking about it.
New comes
So
along, right?
as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to talk about it just about that far and then just say, bye, Kathy, have a nice life.
Well, my opinion of the election was different from yours because I went on record way before knowing who was going to run for president and announced I would vote for Charles Manson before I voted for Hillary Clinton. And
I said Satan. So
It might have been more fun.
So,
I think, right?
and
mixed it up a little bit.
but
Is it getting hot in here?
It's just the light right
But
there.
it was okay because the Trump victory came on the heels of everybody thinking he was a joke. And I went to one of his rallies, and that's where I was sold because what I saw at his rally was America.
I
I
remember you
saw
talking about
every race. There were gays for Trump and Asians for Trump, and there were these young kids behind me, and I asked them
You
their
sure
politics.
The gays for Trump sign, you read that correctly, maybe it was gays for...
No,
okay.
because I was
Everybody's
talking.
missing my joke.
I was talking to a lot of them because I found it fascinating. I mean, we waited 3 hours in the heat for that, and there were these young millennials behind me who were talking about the NSA and about the IRS and all the scandals involved, and how global warming was bogus. And I'm like, God, this is the
Where
next
are y'all at in the
generation.
media?
Yes,
Yeah.
but there were about 3,000 who showed up and 5,000 who waited outside. It's like, and when he spoke, it was what sold me was more after he spoke. The man didn't just walk out of the room; he stayed, and he was shaking hands. and this woman came up with her daughter who was deaf, and Trump asked her, how do you say I love you in sign? And that's what he did. And I thought, this is a guy that relates to everybody. It's not an orange person who appears on TV and says you're fired. He's got depth and he really does love this country.
You think he's
and
taking it kind of
Americans.
old school? You know, I mean, like riding the back of the train and you're out talking to people and.
That's what he did. He outworked Hillary. He 6 to 8, but anyway, that's not. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
We can get off on that.
That's all right. I was just
Not get
gonna
off on that.
he
We can get
worked-
off on that topic.
For lack of a better expression, I think he worked the problem. The problem was the country was so beat to death
Good point.
from the last 8 years that he comes along, and I saw the same thing that you did. He had a way with crowds. He drew crowds. He had a tremendous amount of support. People were looking for that kind of a message. And the next tier of that was your traditional politician, which I thought, in my book and in my experience, Ted Cruz, not just because, if Ted Cruz was from Idaho, I would have gotten onto that camp, 100%. So it wasn't the fact that he was our Texas senator and he has a true conservative record.
He would have gotten his ass kicked by Hillary.
He would have, yeah, you're exactly right. I just, it made me cringe, but I still had to hold to that belief. It wasn't hope. It was a belief that he would have done the job just as good as what Trump is doing right now. Trump has had he stubbed his toe a few times, and you know what? We've got to try to find a way. Can we find a way, like last week, can we find a way for your ultra conservatives to wrap around Trump and his proclivities of leadership? And I honestly, I'm to the point where I'm cautiously optimistic, and that's what I counsel most people to do, is to look at this thing from a long-term standpoint. Do we get behind Trump and really do things to steer it from our level moving uphill? Because we've got people in our political chain of command that may or may not feel that way, and we've got to tell them, say, hey, this guy's the president, that's the office. We got to make sure that this thing succeeds.
With
For
all
everybody,
due,
not just us.
With all due respect, I was a Republican.
Okay.
I was a Republican. I'm conservative now, and I have issues with Republicans.
Mhm.
I have issues with Republicans in the Senate. I have issues with Republicans in the House, because they're going to cause more damage to Trump than the Democrats.
Well, they definitely.
And I don't like this high on my morals and high on this and he better do this, because I'll tell you right now, he's done more for the Republican Party and for conservatives in the short 4 months that he's been president than anybody else.
Right.
And I'm older than you. I remember Reagan. I shook Reagan's hand one time. I went to a campaign rally. But Reagan was a great communicator, but Trump has Kafifi.
Well, he led right in on that one. We've been waiting to get
Well,
to
that's
that
a
one.
good
That was a
segue.
great lead.
Perfect.
So you have to give him that.
Yes.
Yesterday I was thinking about Kafifi, and I decided to go out and have a good glass of Kafifi before I
Is that like an Arabic coffee drink?
before I went to
I'm not
Kafifi
exactly
and
sure
had some
what that
Kafifi.
is.
Let me ask you this. I really wish our buddy David Pipkin was here, who's been on the show a few times, because he is a Constitutional Party fan. Daryl Castle, I don't know if you ever heard of him.
What is that exactly? Constitution Party?
It's just another party.
What time does it start?
Yeah.
There's no happy hour.
All of their party positions, if you go look at their page, they'll quote a reference to the Constitution and then their party position, the plank, right? And I love that. To me, that appealed to, it represented my belief of what the government is supposed to be and supposed to be about. And I ended up voting for Daryl Castle for president, right? Because Trump wasn't conservative enough for me, right? And now I use the same phrase that
But
Steve
you know what?
used,
Steve.
which was I'm cautiously optimistic, right? So I'm behind Trump in the sense that that's infinitely better for me than Hillary.
I have, those who threw away their vote, and it's kind of a sore point with me. because I voted for Perot, which basically made Bill Clinton president. And guess what? Me standing up, voting for Perot, sent no message. I don't see it as taking a stand. I see it as being a dumbass, because Clinton was elected by those who saw the choice between a far left-winger and someone who had a 90% approval rating, but lost it because he went to a grocery store and didn't know what a scan was. And I blame myself for that, and viewed that as being out of touch. But that was how the liberal media sold it. So for those of you who voted for nobody, thinking you're taking a stand, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything, but you made the conversation a little bit more difficult for somebody who was elected president and lost by 3 million votes. That's what you did. You own it.
So I'll address that in a second. I want to share this comment real quick. This is why I said I wish David was here. I caught the last bit of the Trump propaganda. This is David chiming in. He goes, now can we get to reasonable, rational conversation? Anyone who claims that Trump has done more for the Republican Party than anyone else is in serious jeopardy of sacrificing a shred of credibility.
How do you delete that?
And no, I do not mean that as an insult.
Down?
He said, no, I don't mean that as an insult, just as a point of fact.
Thanks, David.
I will address part of what David's getting at, but the only part that I can really speak to is throwing away my vote. Right? Saying I'm throwing away my vote makes the assumption that any party had my vote to begin with. Like a party owns my vote. As in, the Republican parties had my vote, and now because I used to vote in the past as Republican, they own that vote, and since I didn't vote that way, I'm minusing one from them, and I'm giving it to someone else, which is not the case. My vote doesn't belong to anybody. It's never been a plus or a minus in anyone's category. And at the end of the day, I don't have to answer to Ed. I don't have to answer to the Republican Party. I don't have to answer to anybody. I'm going to stand before my God, and my God's going to say, why in the hell did you vote for that guy? And if I don't have an answer that aligns with him, he, she, there's no, whatever. I'm not trying to be sexist there. Then I don't have an answer. Right? It's not a valid answer. So at the end of the day, when I looked at Trump as a candidate and Hillary as a candidate, I went, neither one of those people aligned with me in a Christian worldview. In fact, I would have liked Trump more if he had avoided quoting Scripture. He lost points with me when he tried to quote Scripture. It was
Corinthians went into a bar.
Yeah, I mean, like
I can vote for anybody who can start a joke like that.
It was so bad. I'm like, oh my God, just stop going there, dude.
Well,
I liked you
back,
more. I liked you more
Joe,
before you tried that.
It goes back to the Confifi.
Kofifi, yeah.
Whatever that meant, and I still don't know.
It was a typo.
But here's the thing, does it really matter? Because what it did is Trump, during the campaign and after the election, was doing things to spoof the media. He was going after the media, and they were trying to go after him, and every cotton-picking time they went after him, he beat them over the head with the plowshare. And I mean, that to me was brilliant.
Yeah, and that's
I mean, they bit hook, line, and sinker on some of his stuff, and
that was my point. Which we haven't talked about the Kofifi thing yet. We can jump into this, but that was my point.
The presidential vote is always a vote against someone. It's not a vote for someone. That's how I view it. I voted for Mitt Romney. He was probably the first president in my lifetime that I've ever voted for where I was voting for someone as opposed to against someone else.
Comment here: a wasted vote is one in which you vote counter to your own principles. A wasted vote is one in which you vote counter to your own principles as well as those of the Constitution.
I know who wrote that.
Of course, yes. That's David again. So that's why I said I wish he was here. We could have some good disagreement going.
He is here. He's
here in spirit, right there. He's on the feed.
Thank you, David.
And that's why David and I are very much in the same mind of that. And he actually was the one that was responsible for introducing me to the Constitutional Party and why I ended up voting that route. Because at the end of the day, he made that argument. He's like, look, the only person you're responsible to is your principles, and to be consistent with those principles, period. I'm not responsible for everybody that votes for Hillary. I can't answer for that.
As a non-political guy in the room, let me ask. I mean, so these other sub-parties, other than Democrats and Republicans, the Green Party, I'm gonna tie myself to a Tree Party and Save the Tree.
Libertarian, you name it.
Why join such a small movement that's probably never gonna take the lead and get that presidential seat? Just make a distinction between
Sure.
Republican or Democratic.
It's called being passive aggressive.
I'll say my answer to that is very simple. At one time, every party
Mhm.
was not the majority party.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Right? It's very simple. The Republican Party split off at one point in our history, in 1854 to be exact, from the Democratic Party.
Right.
They broke off, and part of them became the Andrew Jackson Party, and the others split off. And then from there, that split off again to be the current Republican Party that we have now. So splits happen all the time. New majorities come into power. And in fact, I would say that the Republican Party is as poised for that as it ever has been, right? Because there's a huge percentage of the Republican Party voters that are saying, I am sick and tired of rhinos. I'm tired of people that go onto the campaign trail and tell me we're going to get rid of Obamacare. We're going to end, Planned Parenthood. We're going to do all the following, and yet, and I know I'm arguing David's point when he comes, if he was sitting here, to say Trump hasn't ended Planned Parenthood. Trump hasn't ended Obamacare. We're about to get just a new flavor of Obamacare. So, what has he really done from a conservative agenda that would make him the champion of conservatism, right? And I'm not if you get David, it's like y'all will be night and day on this point. I'm kind of in the middle.
I voted for Trump only because it wasn't Charles Manson, but I wasn't fully in his camp because I think he's more of a moderate, liberal-minded than a true conservative. However, what he's done is he's proved that he's pro-America. The fact that he stood at the UN and represented America first, I love that. The fact that
he's done stuff I like.
The global warming. I mean, why are the liberals outraged? Because he made the America First comment. My belief is that yes, we are a two-party country. You have the Republican Party and you have the Independents. The Liberal Party is a religion. It's not a political affiliation.
It's definitely cult-like.
It's a religion because it's based on fear. Religion is based on fear. You don't do this, you're going to go to hell. You're not going to end up where you want. It's fear about dirty air. It's fear about dirty water. It's fear about throwing grandma over a cliff. It's fear about global warming. They have no ideas. It's all based on fear. If you don't follow us, then you're going to ruin the earth for generations. It's not based on any ideas or any concepts. It's not based on capitalism. So I don't view the Liberal Party as being a viable party. I just see it as a religion. Now, the Republican Party has a conscience. If we have someone who does something, we vote him out. We replace him. The Liberal Party, all you have to do, Anthony Weiner, the future governor of New York, just wait and see, or mayor, they forgive because they evolve. We don't evolve. One strike and you're out.
Or some of them go to jail.
Yeah, and then they come out, and then they become the mayor of D.C.
Okay,
that's just how it happened. But in our party, in the Republican Party,
There's been a few Republicans going to jail as well. So.
Well, and they're not coming back.
Let me chime in real quick here. A couple of feed comments. Ken Griffin is chiming in. Ken, thanks for tuning in the show. Ken's a really sharp guy. He always has some good feedback to toss in. Ken said, we are a no-party system. Each man should run on his own individual merits. We were never intended to be a two-party nation. And that's absolutely, the Founding Fathers had a massive fear of the two-party system. They were very much against the two-party system. And early on, from the very, very start, in fact, you run, period. Best man wins. Second place is the vice president.
That's the way it used to be.
Or you have a duel.
Yeah, or you have a duel and somebody gets shot.
Cool.
I actually,
Clint Eastwood would be president.
There you go. Yeah.
I actually read a whole interesting thing with the whole Aaron Burr thing and that sort of thing. And he went to who was Aaron Burr and Andrew, was it Alexander Hamilton? Thank you. Sorry, I had Andrew in my head. It fried my brain.
I was trying to keep
Yes,
it
Alexander Hamilton.
The musical
He figured
guy.
it out.
Yes, yeah.
The musical guy.
And just you talk about Alexander Hamilton. I was so impressed with him. I read just a bunch of stuff on him, but he said he went to the duels trying to not duel, to apologize to him and tell him, but it ended up being pretty adamant and it went down. But even on his deathbed, he was like, I'm asking for his forgiveness for strife that I caused in his heart, and that he would come after me to want to kill me. Even on his deathbed, being forgiving of
I
the
don't
guy, I
think
was
he
like,
did that out of fear. I
He
heard the
didn't,
same
no.
stuff. He didn't do it out of fear.
No.
He did it to be the bigger person in it. And if I had a
Absolutely.
disagreement with y'all, I want y'all to say, look, we're having this discussion. We don't have to kill each other. I get the idea, especially after what happened with the Texas legislature that just finished up this week. That last little spat that Matt Rinaldi got into with that other Democrat. I always thought that, man, there's a lot of real estate outside that pink granite edifice, and we should erect a few cage matches. I mean, if you guys want to go to fisticuffs, then that's fine. But, if you invade my capital and try to disrupt the process by claiming to be illegal, I think there was a lot of play in that. I have my doubts about the validity of that. But if you're going to shamelessly plug your criminal status in my state capital, what Matt Rinaldi did was correct. He is an elected official. He's an officer of that court or that chamber. Any one of them could have made that call, and that would have been the right call. And however I feel about the illegal immigration problem in this country, I think it's an issue that does need to be addressed. It was addressed, and it's going to go in effect in September 1st. And it would behoove a lot of people to get right with this country's rules, rule of law. That's the only thing that we're asking.
hang on, real quick. Two points just to chime in from the feed. Ken, you said Republican Party is fear-based as well. That was in response to what you were talking about the Liberal Party. So Ken, clarify. We'll come back to your comment. And then we had a comment about Trump. He is pro-nationalist. He is not pro-America. I want you to address this. You cannot make America great again unless you know what made it great in the first place. Does that sound familiar?
Sounds like Michelle Obama is watching.
Yes, I mean, she tunes in our show regularly. I mean, that's well known. Hey, Michelle, thanks for tuning in.
One point, based on the illegal immigration. I'm sorry.
Just comically here.
Only cite the ones agreeing with me.
Right. If we went back to the having duels, the conversation would get a lot more civil.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, the argument about the illegal immigration, and from the liberal perspective, it's you're breaking up families. Now, can that argument be made if a father of 5 goes and robs a convenience store and the judge is about to put him away? Can we defend him by saying, but you're taking a father away from his family? I mean, both are illegal acts. So the argument about taking someone away from his family, I mean, the whole argument should be, how do we correct the process? How do we fast track someone who's been here that long and put them in line? Create another line. Don't stand in front of another person, but let's fix the system and try to get this guy in here and find out, first of all, why he hasn't applied for citizenship, and it could be our fault because it's expensive and it's costly, and maybe he just didn't have to before because nobody else was. But we've got it's a bigger picture.
I look at it this way. We have a system. I don't think that the post-1986 amnesty deal that Reagan was handcuffed into doing, the movement or the influx of immigration that either is illegal from the onset or begins to be illegal with visas expiring, that kind of thing. I don't think it's a question of exploiting the immigration system. I think it's exploiting our non-resolve to encourage people to stick with our laws and respect our sovereignty more than being in the system. This is something that I'm kind of working on still, but I have not seen everybody. At some point, everybody argues about, well, we need to fix the system. It's not okay. How do you fix a government system? You either throw more money at it or you just let it keep on going the way it's going. There's no real fixes in something like this. I've never seen any legislation. I've never seen anything but a bunch of people confabbing and getting together and huddling up and saying, oh, this system's bad. And then they go off and they have lunch. There are no solutions to this.
That's literally why I quit listening to talk radio.
Well, you know, let me say this.
And created your own.
I have been to DC pushing legislation. I've walked the halls of Congress, meeting with legislators, pushing legislation to fix certain things. I was in the mortgage industry for 19 years, so we were trying to combat some of the horrible regulations that were coming down the pike, thanks to the CFPB, Dodd-Frank. And we had a lot of bills that we were pushing. We were pushing small ones. They were bipartisan bills. One of them was about a credit issue. If you had a medical collection, and our little bill was, we're going to pay it, and then it won't affect your score. Mm-hmm. The way our credit system is set up, and Joe's an expert on this, is if you pay a collection, you pay anything that's a past negative, it becomes a present negative, and your scores drop, which can affect your qualifying to buy a house. So we were pushing,
ridiculous.
We were pushing a bipartisan bill that said if you pay a collection, it disappears and doesn't affect you. We could not get any legislators to bite off on it because we were told directly by Republicans it wasn't sexy enough. Meaning it wasn't bringing them votes, it wasn't bringing them money, it's not putting their name on any building, so why should they fight for something? So the system that we have is very complicated to begin with. So fixing anything in there has got to be from the top down, not from the bottom up, because the bottom up doesn't work.
There are a lot of elected officials out there, and sometimes I tend to shoot myself in the foot because a lot of them are real good friends. But they're not really part of the problem because I'll tell them straight to the face. They're not above reproach. There are realistic expectations. I've learned to govern my passions and say, is this a realistic expectation? But a lot of them are into it for what's in it for me. And that's the kind of attitude I don't like, I don't appreciate, because and putting myself in their shoes, I do know what kind of pressures that they're under. And when they vote on something, there is a tremendous amount of sweat equity put into these decisions. And sometimes they get it wrong. I would get it wrong if I was in their shoes.
Well,
It's hard to break that cycle. When you have a majority in most elected offices in the country, and you're still not finding solutions to the issues that we expect you. We're not demanding it, we have expectations. Can we find a way? Can we make this work? If we don't get people in there that are willing to do that, then we're just spinning our wheels.
We elect the same jack-offs every single time.
Right.
That's
Okay,
the problem.
so this is great response to tie into some posts that are happening on the feed here. Ken asked, he said, what do you guys think of the Constitutional Convention to impose limits on federal government, term limits, and so forth, right?
I have an answer to that.
All right, so hang on. Then he kept chiming in. He said, many supporters of the Republican Party believe that the world, when he was answering my question back to him of what was the fear-based policies, right? He said, many supporters of the Republican Party believe that the world would be unstable if we were not the overseers of all nations and maintain our more than 600 military installations around the world. We spend more than $150 billion a year just maintaining our bases. $42 trillion has been spent over the last 32 years perpetuating a warlike state around the world. David then replied to that, and I'll come back to your last comment. David came back and said, Ken, David here, you're exactly right, and that is one of the reasons that I was so attracted to the Constitution Party and left the GOP. Much of our foreign policy is not based on constitutional principle. Darrell Castle made the point quite often that if we did not give so much aid to the enemies of Israel, we would not have to give so much aid to Israel. Hard to argue that logic. All right, so that was the point. So coming back full circle from where Ken started out with, how do you guys feel about term limits, that sort of thing? All right, we elect the same jack-offs that's right. So great, book into that point. What do we think, from a solution standpoint? What do we do to fix the problem?
Term limits. Get the John McCains, the Lindsey Grahams out, and anyone else who becomes comfortable in their seat, and all they do, and the Sheila Jackson Lees and the Maxine Waters. I mean, let's drain the swamp. I just made that up. Dude, I just made that up. Wow.
That's got snap. I like that.
I hope that has staying power.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer that every president should serve 4 years in office and then go directly to jail and serve 4 years. I mean, we've never had a president
Boy, if
had
that kind of
successful-
jeopardy was on them, I guarantee you a lot of
act a lot
stuff would
better,
be
wouldn't they?
solved.
I mean, every president that we've had has had a disastrous second term
Yes.
in my lifetime.
Cindy! Thanks for tuning in, girl. Cindy's a regular on the show, good friend of mine, brilliant lady. She's been on the show, and she's going to be on the show many times to come. Love
Why
her.
are you not here?
I
This is
know.
your chair.
Cindy, we have she said, what's the topic? I don't know.
Yes, the Astros.
We're going
We're
with
talking
it.
about the Astros.
No, I mean, we started off on Kathy Griffin and the whole beheading thing. And
Rewind, just rewind.
Yeah, just rewind. Just rewind. We started off on Kathy Griffin. We kind of roamed into there from,
That the Kofifi or
Kofifi, whatever the heck that was. And now we're talking about the ills of the Republican Party and term limits and some other things. So I don't know. You've got a gift, my friend. He's talking about your tagline. Drain the swamp. You've got a gift, my friend.
I got to trademark that. Don't anybody trademark
That's
it
right.
before me.
And Cindy, she said, how's the wine? Cindy, we are drinking the Reserve Bank. It's the second time on the show. It's my last bottle. You got connections, girl. Get me some hookup with this. I need some extra bottles. It's freaking great. It's one
This
of my
is the
favorites.
5 great wine.
Yeah, it's one
Oh
of my
man,
favorites.
did I blow it?
No, it's
Oh,
all right. It's
okay,
all right. It's all right.
Ernest and Julio.
What? He said, let's go with that. We're genius. All right. Talking about your tagline. It's genius.
I need
Yeah.
to chime in on
Yeah,
what
so,
we had done this.
term limits.
Term limits.
You said
David,
you had a point.
David actually, and I agree, so we already have term limits. The problem with that is that everybody doesn't have much of an option sometimes. We have primaries. David is absolutely dead on the money with that. So every 2 years, every single person in this room, do you get to vote yet? No? Okay, but you soon will.
She turns
If-
18 in December. Oh my
Good.
God.
All right. Anyway,
My
every
daughter's
person in
running
this
the
room
camera.
Has the ability to make changes every 2 years. If you don't like something, then go against it. The problem that I've kind of been formulating, the solution I've formulated is that we need to stop searching for leaders in our political districts. We need to start making them. If someone like John McCain is not doing a good job, of course, the people in Arizona may think he's doing a fabulous job. That's why they keep voting for him. It may also stem from the fact that nobody in that particular political ideology wants to run against him because he's been there forever.
And he's got a huge war chest. I mean,
Yes.
nobody can come
We're starting
out
to
of
see
the private
that.
sector.
We're starting to see that here in the state of Texas.
This gets to the heart of the problem right there. You just hit the nail on the head, right? What happens is that the career incumbents make enough PAC connections that they get the mass of the money now, and it's impossible to go up against them.
We've seen very few instances where money for a campaign has not been the deciding factor. A good campaign run against an incumbent, I can cite a really good example of this. Briscoe Cain against a 16-year incumbent, an 8-term incumbent in Wayne Smith. Guess what's happening? Briscoe Cain, a freshman state rep in this area, he went in and did exactly what he was going to do. He was, boom, his first term, he was in the Freedom Caucus. He was one of 12 members of that body that were true conservatives, anti-abortion, pro-Second Amendment, pro-personal liberties. They were going to go after property taxes, all this stuff. And they were all going to go up against Joe Strauss and his shenanigans that he was performing. Now, people in Behar County, in San Antonio, think that Joe Strauss is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay? Joe Strauss has a war chest that he gives out money to people to run against people that are opposing their agenda. Okay? So we have Republicans in the leadership going after new people and people that are not of the establishment ilk. We're consuming our own. That's destructive in the Republican
we need to
Party.
get the Russians involved.
If we get them involved, shoot, I don't know what's going to happen.
That's
there.
what we need. We need
We might be
Russians.
starting drinking
We
vodka.
need hacking. We need WikiLeaks. We need
Sure.
Russians. We need,
Well,
Yeah.
seeing as
Why not?
seeing as I am actually a Russian agent, I really don't appreciate you bringing that up. So,
Da, das not it, Fredingana?
Yet.
Ah,
Anyway.
boy.
We're gonna be rushing through this show real fast.
Oh, we're gonna get a knock on the door.
Yeah. So David chimed in. He said, Steve, he goes, where you and I disagree is that the GOP keeps propping up the moderate to liberals that we need to be booting out.
Oh, I'm not in disagreement with you, David. Not at all.
The conservatives
Gosh.
we came to love are the ones
Come on,
that
brother.
they hate. It's time for people to realize, especially those that call themselves conservatives, that the GOP is just not that into you. But in the Constitutional Party, we would love to have you.
They see no jeopardy to their position.
And he says, how can you tell who the GOP loves? Look at the career politicians in the Senate. John McCain, Mitch McConnell, more than 70 years between them. That's who the GOP loves. That's who
I blame voter fraud.
that's who the GOP loves. That's not who the Constitutionists love. I couldn't agree more with that standpoint.
David, we're not in disagreement, brother. Come on. I'm with you on stuff.
he is
Drain
right.
the swamp. I'm gonna leave that.
Some t-shirts or something.
That's another, man, you got some zingers today, man. You're
Drain
on
the
fire
swamp,
with
drain the-
these,
drain the
drain the swamp. Run with that. That's good stuff.
Problem is just with this wine, I'll forget about it before I even leave.
True story. True story. Ken Griffin says there are incredible opportunities emerging in the space of blockchain and smart contracts on the Ethereum platform. Ken, what the hell are you talking about?
Is he related?
Please
Is
explain.
he on the right
Kathy?
thread?
How do you think we could reorganize government if contracts could be programmed to transfer value based on performance? Not sure I explained this well. Okay, Ken,
We have a chair for
a
Ken.
second glass, I will have to say I didn't catch it all. Could just be me. But feel free to elaborate, and I'll give you time on the show. So there we
Absolutely.
go. All right, Steve, that's why I love you, my brother. You're right on the cusp. It is your future. I see it. You're coming to the Constitution Party, my friend. You know who that was.
Yeah, some guy named David. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. So, okay, do we fix the problem with term limits or not?
No.
You say no. You say yes.
I say yes.
I think we need more Ted Nugent.
We need more Ted Nugent.
Oh, and the other
Yes.
thing that was
Okay.
brought up, Joe, that Constitutional Convention,
Yes.
in Article 5, I have studied it longer than I care to admit, and that if anybody who believes in that
What?
process, even though it's righteous in the Constitution, I'm telling you, there's nobody within 50 square miles of this position that's not plugged into the leadership that's going to get a seat at that table. None of us who have the ability to be a delegate in that process will ever get a chance to get in that process. And the danger with that is that the other side's going to get a seat at the table. They're going to load it up with their people, and we're going to take a document that I honestly feel the Constitution, which I usually have a pocket copy if I'm wearing my suit, but we're going to take a document and we're going to start chopping it up, which I think is the wrong thing to do. I think its processes, its originalist intent is just fine. If somebody wants to go up there and chop it up, I'll go on a road trip with you and we'll go steal it, bring it back to Texas, and they'll never, we will protect it in its originalist form. It's not the document. It's the people exploiting it. It's the people that don't know what it means. And they think that by passing some law about you have to get health care,
Like,
how many times have we looked in that
where's
little
the
pocket
government for
document?
that?
Where is that?
Yeah.
There are so many things that this federal government, which was created by the states, we didn't have a federal government until 1789. So this idea about the states not have being subservient to the federal government, I'll shove that so far up sideways somebody it won't be funny.
Woo!
But the thing is that
Steve,
its
have some more
originalist
wine.
intent
And I
is
didn't say
perfect.
that.
Right?
Woo!
I want to protect the originalist intent, and if we have to replace people, even if we like them, if they're not willing to champion that document and protect the process that it alone says that they are contracted to do, commissioned to do, provide for the common defense, Ken, $150 billion, okay, I'm okay with that because that's what they're supposed to do.
But his point is, do we need to be in all these countries, 600 bases all around the world? I'll
Well,
get back to that.
sometimes it's better to keep the fight out there
I don't
than
disagree.
it is here.
I don't disagree.
If the fight ever comes here, we won't be able to do this show.
I'm in between. I'm in between because I agree with you, but I know Ken's point. I'm in between. We'll come back to that.
I'm not really
After
throwing rocks at
after the
Ken.
station break, right?
Right. No, but sort of, because
No sponsors? You have no sponsors?
I don't want
I've
sponsors.
had to pee for the last 20 minutes.
This is free.
Oh, sorry.
Chow Win posted, my buddy Chow Win, y'all may recognize that name, TV
Where
gal,
are the women on the
great.
show?
She posted that comment about 15 times. Where are the women on the show? Chow,
No
where are
kidding.
you at, girl? I got an empty seat. Actually, I had a woman scheduled to be on the show. If you watched last week's show, it was a majority of women. My daughter's waving at me. My daughter's behind the scenes. Come here real quick. Just
Come here.
sit. Come here, sit. Yes, quickly sit. My 17-year-old daughter is running the camera today. She's behind the scenes. So now we have a woman on the show. There you go.
Okay, go back.
Done.
Wait. What do you think about this discussion?
Sorry.
Come on, here's your chance. No pressure.
Jess, my daughter's brilliant, by the way. She just does not care about politics.
What
But
he said.
that's right, exactly.
There you go.
Say drain the swamp.
Drain the swamp.
See, yes, brilliant. Drain the swamp. It's like a millennial tagline now. I mean, it's powerful.
It's taking on.
Yeah, it's got legs. I think
I'm a
you're onto something,
millennial,
Trump.
drain the swamp. There
That's
you go,
right.
there's a t-shirt.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Perfect marketing.
Yes.
Would
So
you wear the
Chow,
shirt?
first of all, you set yourself up because you said where's the women on the show? That means you need to be on the show. So I'll be calling you this coming week to schedule your appearance. So I'm just saying, you set yourself up. I did have a woman on the show scheduled. She had to reschedule. She's going to be on next week. And last week we had 3 women and 2 guys. We had a majority of women. So trust me, this is an equal opportunity show here. It's just a matter of who is available week to week. So don't give me grief.
Can we do it on a Wednesday?
It's booked. It's booked.
Thursday?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's Fridays. Fridays. Sorry,
Sunday?
Fridays. Ken Snyder. Hey, Joe Orsek. Where are the ladies? Dang it! What is up with this ladies? Where's my mentor Stephanie? Remember, what happens in Fight Club stays in Fight Club. Right. So yeah. So we have a wine club we're a part of. Stephanie was on the show last week, and Ken is Ken. How do I describe you and your political views? He's an independent liberal person. Liberal. And so he chimed in about 600 times on last week's show.
Oh, I was going to go to your wine thing on Sunday, but I got invited to a pool party. And that's
Oh,
how
you're terrible. It was a great event. We had a good time, by the way.
Sorry
Anyway,
to miss it.
I want to get Ken on
Invite me again.
I want to get Ken Snyder on the show and you because it's going to be. I'll just sit back and watch. That's going to be a fun show.
I got to come up with another line now.
Yes, I
Right.
know. You know, he's
Make America great again?
Ken.
Is that been taken?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I feel that one. I don't know if I feel that one. The other, Drain the Swamp is good, and what was the other one?
Make America great again.
No, but what was the other one you had? It was another
He said
tagline.
drain the swamp twice, and you liked them both.
Oh, maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. Drain the Swamp and something else I thought was it. Anyway, he
What
comes
was
up with
another one?
taglines.
Praise
Ken. It's
God
really
and
good.
pass the ammunition. That's
Yeah,
another
yeah,
good one.
lock
I like
and
that
load.
one.
He calls himself independent moderate. There we go. He answered. Anyway, he said, "What happens in wine club stays in
Where's
wine
the
club."
meat? Where's the beef?
Right. So yeah, Ken, you missed. You would have been chiming in on this show. I promise, Ken. We've had plenty of things that I know already you would have disagreed with. So anyway, I don't know.
It
What
would
the
be
heck.
great with Ken on. I mean, shoot, that's just
And will you be back next week?
She fills in. I have a guy named Bobby who normally runs the camera for me, and he was dealing with some sick family, and so
I thought
he
you were
couldn't
just playing Candy Crush the whole time.
make it. She might have been. She might have been.
well,
So-
she would be able to drop all of us down that stack with just hitting us and
Yeah.
we're
Which, by the
gone.
way, there's your.
Oh, I've been doing it manually.
Yes, I know. I've been watching, but I should have said something. But anyway,
We're good.
yeah. So
He's doing a great
it's,
job.
it's so much easier this way, so you can just zoom in on Dad right there, because. Hey, what's up? What's up?
I'm on with Dad.
All right, and then you can go full view right there. Now we're full view. So anyway, there we go. All right, if you want to, you're welcome to sit here if you want to, but
I'll
Yeah.
go back over here.
yeah,
I'll go over there.
I know how she is. My daughter is probably my polar opposite when it comes to personality types. Like she's not the I want to talk to people and I think she.
Because people
I have
suck
a
most of the
feeling-
I think yes. I think
People are very disappointed.
I think
Yeah.
she's in the people suck most of the time
Yeah.
category.
We like animals.
Live. So she has like a
Animals are better than
billion
people.
animals.
No,
So-
I've only known her a couple of the shows and ran into her a couple times. I have a feeling that a few years from now, she is absolutely going to blow up. She's going to be a terror, but it's going to be a good terror. She's going to be just
It's
fine.
gonna be a terror for Dad.
That's
what
right.
he's gonna
But,
do.
you know, Dad's going to have to compete. That's right.
You can't date till you're 31. Has he given you that speech yet?
He's been
Was
saying
it
that for a
31
while.
or 35?
31,
He says 35. That's been the phrase.
That's-
He
I've
actually
heard.
said 35? Wow.
Yeah.
You should probably
Okay,
just wait
Ken
till
is
35,
clarifying
to be honest with you.
his rule here, or
It's
his
terrible out
previous
there.
comment. I don't know if it's going to make any more sense, because Ken's really smart, and so he says really smart things, and after like I've had 2 glasses of wine, that's just a lot of effort, Ken. You're asking a hell of a lot from me right now.
You know we have to go pee. I don't
Right?
know how it works
Ken
in the
says-
show.
Are we getting overtime for this?
Yeah, right. Ken says, okay, think about the prospect of writing a digital contract that transfers value only when the performance parameters of the contract have been met. Think of a trust that requires no physical oversight by an attorney because it is coded to deliver value based on its programming. Extrapolate that to government functions, where participants voluntarily participate in programs that appeal to them. How would you envision operating within such a system?
He put a lot of thought into that. I
Does
really-
anybody have a trust?
I know.
I'm not sure what.
That is. I actually get better where you're going with that, Ken. Now,
I
kind
would
of
love to have that conversation with him.
Yeah, Ken's up in New York right now. He's a Texas guy though. He's from Texas. I think you're from Texas, aren't you, Ken? Anyway, I've known him for many years down here in Texas. Super sharp guy, one of the nicest guys I know. Also in Wine Club, by the way. He's suffering up in New York right now. That's where he's at. And they live in a broom closet that they pay like $3,000 a month for.
Ed, do you have a trust at all, legal trust, anything that you've done through a lawyer? I'm just trying to generate some conversation here because I do.
I have a will.
Yeah, that's kind of
But I don't
an
trust
estate
anybody.
deal. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay. No, I have a trust for 3 members of my family, my dad, my wife, and myself. We have a trust so that we can bypass or make it easier for us to do things work with the government, the ATF, things of that nature. And it's one of the wisest things that I've done, you know, and I'm executor of my dad's estate. So there's some legal things that I've done. I've never really realized that what Ken's saying, I'd like to explore that some. It may not be really a topic for the show, but
Oh, it could be.
it could be.
Yeah.
But just people are kind of,
Yeah, that's kind of deep.
you know, but it interests me to be able to do that digitally. I just don't think, I legally, we'd have to bring a real lawyer on here and really get that defined. One that's used to doing trusts.
Well, you know what? Check it out. This is the thing that I've kind of realized in trying to bring people on the show, and this show has been mostly people of like mind, but in bringing people on the show that have very different opinions, right? Ken Snyder's going to be on next week. Y'all should tune in. I'm just going to tell y'all now. He has a different view from me, and you know, but I love the guy. He's a very sharp guy, and he's intelligent in his argument, right? So it's not just a wacky position he's holding. He holds it for his reasons, and he makes a salient argument. So I always respect that, right? Mm-hmm. What I've come to appreciate is that very often we have complete agreement on a core issue. People are chiming in. We have complete agreement on a core issue, but it's the solution that we vehemently disagree with, right? So you look at things like abortion, and you'll have this massive and violent disagreement on, you know, how dare you tell me what to do with my body? How dare you take the innocent life of an unborn child? And you have these polar opposite positions where people are willing to kill each other over, right? But in the middle ground, you're like, you know, at the end of the day, we're like, I want individual liberty. I don't like the idea of the state telling me what to do. Well, we have core agreement, right? because you take those opposing views, and very often that's a center point, right? So it's like, wait a minute. We're looking at the same kind of argument where we really disagree on the solution, but we have some core issues that we really agree on.
Can you
right?
find what's actually when we're all just excited about this thing called the Constitution all of a sudden when we already have the parameters of what you just said? The government should not be doing anything to violate your life or anybody else's life, their liberty, or their pursuit of happiness.
But that's such a broad thing to say.
It is a broad thing. There's a reason for that.
You know, if you tell somebody, you know, the government's going to tell you that you need an abortion, and that's the same government that's going to say you need to wear a helmet, you need to wear seatbelts, you need to not text while you drive. And I believe in all of those. But the thing is, it is a loss of constitutional rights. I would never get on a motorcycle without a helmet, and I don't.
But they've told you
I try not to text.
Yeah.
But we've got, and I'm sorry to interject,
No,
we've got hair dryers that say do not use in water. And there's got to be rules for the herd, because both people don't get I should wear a helmet. What's the last thing the redneck said before he died? Hey y'all, watch
Hold my
this.
beer.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Watch this.
Hold my beer and watch this. That's
So,
right.
and I didn't mean to interject your conversation, because I don't like the government telling me, hey, you can't have an abortion, or you kind of pee here and there, and I really kind of pee now, but there's got to be some kind of rules for the masses too, right?
Or you can
Or-
marry
Well, we see
whom,
examples
you know,
of people
it's just-
not exercising common sense every single
There you go.
day.
That's where I was going.
If somebody wants to climb up the side of the Williams Tower, not my part of the Williams family, with suction cups, and then they fall, and everybody goes, "Oh," I go, "Oh, splat."
Well, we watch to see them fall. That's the only reason we're
Well,
watching.
yeah, and that's another example of the media coming in and considering this to be, hey, the media is holding that person's beer. Let's watch them do this. Okay, it's only a matter of time
Media
before
is
they
holding
go.
that person's
They
beer.
go, oh gosh, I'm not getting any suction here. And that's all we see, and then
And
it's
should
on
that
to
be
the next
outlawed?
thing.
I love making the comment, and Ken, no, we didn't talk about abortion. I was just using it as an example of a very contentious subject
It sure
that
is.
people disagree on, right? I love saying in a conversation about abortion when people hold their position, I say I'm the most pro-choice person you'll ever meet, and that kind of, like they look at me and I'm like, because I'm for the choice that every human should have the choice to make of their life what they will. Right? And that we already have on the book scientific measurements for when a person is dead. Right? We can go to Terry Schiavo cases, we can go to major things where science weighed in and said when brainwave activity ceases, when heart rate activity stops, the person's dead, it's legally okay to unplug them. But we don't want to use those same rules to apply to the start of life, because that would inconvenience a hell of a lot of people when it came to the abortion argument. Right? I'm like, I don't need to involve God in the conversation, anything else. Just purely scientifically, let's take the freaking same rules we already use to call a person dead and use that same set of rules to when we call a person
Well,
alive.
you're already opposing the political side of this equation, because liberals want to control every aspect of your life from conception, which they don't recognize, but from the time that you exit the womb. They want to control your life until they plant you. So
Ken said, damn, wife confiscated my phone. Something about addicted, yada, yada. Ken, bottom line, we got to get you on the show.
Get a burner.
Ken Griffin, we got to get you on the show. Ken Snyder is going to be on the show next week. He's chiming in all the time. Ken said about New York, 35% income tax for the privilege of living here.
Ouch.
That's what happens when you get a
And how much
certain-
is the toll across the
Texas.
Brooklyn Bridge? $35.
Yeah.
Is it really?
That's
It's
when
incredible.
what happens when you get a certain party in power. Lots of taxes. I'm just saying. All you got to do is look at the party in power.
And they're bankrupt.
so
maybe that's why Sully didn't land the plane anywhere but in the Hudson.
Yeah.
There was a fine-defining line. I said, "Oh, are we going to go with $35 per head?" They never did really leave New York.
all right, we don't have the budget to land in New York.
So maybe he had an idea. I think he had the right idea. Just put it in the drink and let everybody sort the crap out later.
Great story, great
Bubba,
movie.
yeah, that's
Ken
right.
Griffin says, "Bridge, I can't afford to cross no bridge."
Oh
Yes.
no, is that one of the?
Yeah, that was it.
I have
Yes.
I can picture that. Oh.
Yes. All right. So you know what? Is this good wrapping up point? We can
Yes,
keep
I'm
talking.
about the bus, guys.
He's about the bus. You know, we've had people get up during the show. We're very
I'm gonna
informal
have to.
here, right? So you know, I think it's a good point to wrap up. It's been a fun conversation, guys. The whole idea of the show, as always, like it, share it, please get it out there, because my whole point is that we need to have these conversations where we show America it's freaking okay to disagree and we can get along and still be friends despite agreement or disagreement. Doesn't matter. So,
Is there a
that's,
test?
there's a test. No. This is, at the end of the show, we always rate the wine, right? We got to have a great wine today. The Reserve Bank came from the wine club I'm a member of, called Direct Sellers. Phenomenal organization that I've really enjoyed. Steve is also a member now. And this wine is from South Africa, red blend. And Steve, how do you rate today's wine?
I'm Joe. I'm going to give it the same rating I had last time this wine was on the show. This is the star. This is going to get 5 grapes, so or plums or whatever.
5 grapes.
Yeah,
They're supposed
5
to be
grapes.
They're
So-
very
I think they're
plumish
plums.
looking grapes.
Oh
I
yeah,
know,
this
I
is
know.
good stuff.
Yeah, so I feel the same way. This was one of my favorites. And don't feel you're on 3. That's fine. Don't feel free to be peer pressure.
I was looking
or
for
anything.
3.5 actually.
Right. Okay. So I give it a 5. You know, wine is like art. It's
There you
subjective. You can have somebody that thinks it's a 1.
What's the price of that bottle?
It's
There's your 3.5.
on the market. It's $25. I didn't pay that for it because I got it in a wine club. I got it in a wine club. That's fine. So for me, it's a 5. I love it. My wife says it's too sweet for her. For me,
Oh, sweet. I didn't think about that.
yeah, for me, I really love it. It's a very smooth wine, raspberry flavors. Wine is subjective, so I love it. It's a 5.
Okay, I spent 15 years in the wine industry, and I'm partial to Italian wines. I think they're great wines, but I tell you, I can go to any liquor store and find a wine that I would rate a little bit higher than this in the $12 range. I think it's too expensive. It doesn't have the body that you know, a good Chianti would have, or a good Cabernet. So I think for the price, I was at 3 stars just based on quality, but for the price, I'd want a little bit more oomph in my bottle. And
I should add-
also, I'd like a cork, not a screw top. I'm just kind of impartial to that.
I should add, by the way, it's 25 because it's from South Africa, and you're paying for some of the.
You can get
You can order it
get
online for 15.
You can get a Chilean wine. You can get a Argentinian wine for about $8.
Oh yeah, I mean
That's bigger and bolder.
I've had
than
great
that.
wines for 3. I've had terrible wines for 100. So you know.
Hardy Burgundy.
Okay. I like it. He doesn't. It's okay. It's
No, I
okay.
liked it.
We
Look,
disagree. I'm gonna
look.
punch him afterwards. We're gonna into a fist fight
I
over the wine.
nurse my stuff, so it's just I like to have
Yes.
it over a period of time.
For 25, you can get a cake bread Cabernet or a Beaujolais Vineyard.
But you
Could've
know
got a
what?
bottle of Jack Daniels for $25.
Or-
So I'll give it
But
a
you know
3.
what? The price to me to me never matters because
You bet.
he was gonna give it a 3, by the way.
Yeah.
A 3.
I'm a 3 for the bourbon guy.
The price to me is always irrelevant because, like I said, I've had great wines for $10 and I've had terrible wines for 100. It's really, I just like, do I like the wine or not? I don't care about the price or whatever else. I'm not gonna look down on this wine if it's 25, and I'm not gonna look up to it if it's 10. It's just, do I like it or not? So you know, that's how I take wine. And on Vivino, which great app, I love that app. It was a 3.5. So you know, it's like, yeah, it's you know,
I've got that
decent
app.
rating.
I concur, Vino.
Yeah, so it's a good little app. I just happen to like it. My wife rated it definitely lower than I did. I gotta give you the Malbec that we had.
I don't
think
like
you would-
Malbec.
Me either. The Malbec we had.
I'm not a Malbec fan. I've tried.
God, it's so good.
I've tried. But I'm a Coors Light drinker, so what do I know?
Well, you discredited
Disqualified
discredited
myself,
yourself
yes.
right there. Yeah. All right. Anyway, we went on about the wine, but then, you know what? It's the Wine No Wine show, so you know, deal with it. We spent like 15 minutes, of the show talking about wine.
This is what we consider to be the truth serum.
Right,
This
it is.
loosens the tongue.
That is right.
This creates some camaraderie. It doesn't matter where you fall in this thing. We're not going to
What
go
are you
fisticuffs,
drinking?
So
She is drinking water. with
The best drink in the world.
yes,
Eau de vie.
with a squirt of some sort of a wild cherry thing.
It has caffeine.
Wild
It has
turkey.
caffeine because she
Oh.
was like sleepy. So
Okay.
anyway,
Are we out?
we are out. We're gonna wrap up the show here, so you're gonna get ready to hit the end of live feed there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like and share the show. Go to wineknowwine.com. Drop your name in the hat if you want to be on the show. Always appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in, guys.
Oh wait, I have one more thing to say. No.
We're out. Bye.
Good show. Fun.
Yeah.
Do I stop
Fans
it?
Still live.
Is it?
Yeah, hit the end button.